Okay, let's see. Hello, everyone, again. Welcome back to our last class or last lesson for this week. Right. So, how are you, everyone? Hope you are being good and fine. Thank you so much for your hard working so far. Now, we're gonna move to our last chapters. Our story alone. It was written by Annie Brooksbank in 1985. I have talked so far, um, and there are 8 chapters. And today we are going to finish the last 2 chapters. Chapter 7, Family Reunions, and Chapter 8, Vietnamese People. All right, and so far we have finished like 6 chapters. Chapter 1, Adoptions, Choices, Vietnamese Culture, Cultural National Identity, Search for Self-Identity, and Chapter 6, Fathers and Daughter. The main characters in the story are Lindy, Marge, Geoff, Lay, Julie, and Danny. All right, now let's move to Chapter 7, Family Reunion. All right, beginning with the next morning, Lindy and her father left the family of Lay's brothers. So they had stayed one night um, at Lindy's uncle's house, and in the morning they left them, coming back to Geoff's family. So while walking out of the train, father and daughter discussed each other. Lay asked Lindy to go with him to Vietnam, right, where Lindy was born, and Vietnam is her country as well. Right. This means his suggestions or proposal. This made Lindy very sad and painful, as it was hard for her to do that to her adopted family. Right? They thought of her as theirs. So Lindy felt very terrible to reply to his real father, real father's suggestion. Right? Because it is being hard for Lindy to go away from her adopted mom and dad and family. It's just like she had been with them for more than 10 years, and they thought of Lindy as their real daughter. Okay, so to answer to his proposal, Lindy asked her father to stay in Australia instead, but Lei couldn't walk away from his children in Vietnam as well, right? So it is hard for Lindy to go to Vietnam with her real father. That's why she asked her real father to stay longer or to stay in Australia. And it did not work as well because Lei could not walk away from his children in Vietnam. He had got a lot of relatives and children over there. Right. Then Lei wanted Lindy to just come for a visit to see her mother's grave, to meet her sisters and brother, and Lindy had to talk to her Australian family first, right? Then they come up with a visit to Vietnam. They asked Lindy to go to Vietnam, but not to stay, just for a visit, like 1 week or two, something like that, and to meet her sisters and brother as well. But I think Lindy would choose this way. Anyway, she should ask her adopted family first. Right. So when asking her adopted family to have a visit to Vietnam, there was a bitter conversations between Lilies and Marge, her adopted mother. Right. So asking them to let her to go to Vietnam, it was hard as well. It just like they talk to each other angrily, and Marge especially did not want Lindy to go to Vietnam, right? Maybe she thought that Lindy would stay there. Right. After that, Julie, right, Lindy's best friend came and had a talk to her. She also suggested Lindy to wait for a couple of years to visit Vietnam, which showed Lindy the better ways to comfort herself and her two sides. Okay, so Lindy, as Julie came, Julie is Lindy's best friend, and she got an idea. Um, asked Lindy to wait for a couple of years till she is 16, so she can take a visit to Vietnam. Right, Lindy might agree with this idea, and this is a good way to comfort herself and also her two sides, I mean her real families and her adopted families as well. Okay, and now the last chapter, chapter 8, Vietnamese people. Next morning, Lindy and Lei caught a train to the Blue Mountains to see the new landscapes. All right, so coming to Australia, Lei had just stayed in the families of of his brothers and also stayed in a hotel. So he got short time as well. That's why they took one day for them to go and see the new landscapes around the Blue Mountains. Right over there, Lindy told Lei like this: Father, I have decided I want to come with you now. I'll come in 2 years' time when I'm 16. Right, so this time Lindy told her father that she's not going to go to Vietnam right now. She have to wait for 2 more years. When she is 16, and she will go. Then the next day, it was time for Lei, Lindy's real father, to return to Vietnam. Right. At the airport, Lindy and Geoff saw him off sadly. Right, Lindy and Geoff, her adopted father, um, sent Leis to the airport, and they feel very sad seeing um, Leis going away. A few weeks later, Lindy often went to her uncle's house to ask her cousin Ming to teach her Vietnamese. All right, and she got time to learn Vietnamese because she plans to return to Vietnam 2 years later. Right, and Ming was pleased. Ming was happy to have Lindy to teach her Vietnamese. Then Lindy wrote a letter to her real father, Lei, in Vietnam, telling him that she was now learning Vietnamese with Ming. This is good news to Lei, to her real father. Ming was pleased to have Lindy, so she would be able to communicate when she went to Vietnam. She was happy to know who she was as well and promised to write her father letters very often. Right, this is the end of the course, the end of our semester. I really appreciate your time and your hard working, everyone. Thank you very much. Be successful in your life, your love, and study. Goodbye. Thank you. Good luck.